Hey everyone, welcome back to the range. My name is Matt. A particular company by the name of HWin was very impressed with what I showed in our prime armor testing of that thick boy polyethylene level 3 plate. So they sent me a similar model for us to test today. This guy is a single curve model. It is 1.1 inches thick, pure polyethylene through and through. I would imagine if they put a thick foam backer on here, it would be as thick as that prime armor. It weighs 3 pounds, 14 ounces. For all my armor testing, I try to stick to as many NIJ constants as I can out here at the range. It's approximately 75 to 80 degrees outside today. Since this is rifle armor, I shoot at 45 feet and I shoot at 0 degrees. That is worst case scenario. I'm not gonna put any plate carriers or magazines in front of this or anything. I'm gonna shoot just the plate. That is worst case. So you know if it stops it at that, that's going to be worst case. And I've said worst case like 15 times. We also use a giant clay briefcase filled with Roma plastilina clay donated by Chavant. This is the actual clay that the NIJ uses, Roma #1 ballistic clay. It is oil based. The warmer that it gets, the more that the softer the clay will get, and you'll see more backface. Since we're out here and I don't have a way to heat the clay up to like 95 to 100 degrees, we're just gonna get a representation of backface. And because this thing weighs like 90 freaking pounds, it's just a solid base to put the body armor up against. We're not just throwing it on the ground or laying it up against a steel target and allowing some of the energy to disperse, making the plate fly off, whatever you're putting it on. We're getting, like I said, maximum energy transfer, and I'm gonna say the word again, maximum worst case scenario. At the beginning of all my videos, we put our little spreadsheet here that foreshadows all the different rounds that we're gonna shoot at it. So you guys kind of have that ahead of time, and at the end we fill it out with all the velocities and whether we get penetrations or not. And we also do the tear down, which will be kind of boring on this plate because like I said, it is pure polyethylene, so there's not gonna be too much inside of it. Up first, we're gonna start with our 5.56 threats, and because polyethylene does a pretty good job at containing the bullet and it's easy to see, I'm gonna put a whole bunch of shots on the plate. Then we're gonna go down and talk about it. So up first, we have our intentional subsonic M855A1. I've intentionally made this subsonic as kind of a quality judgment for the polyethylene. Typically, a harder or thicker polyethylene will stop it. Then I have the problem child, which is M855. That is 62 grain full metal jacket with a conical steel tip inside of it. We've got 2 rounds of those. I do believe these are independents. I forget what velocities these are at a 10.5 inch. We've got a Turbo 5.56 up front. Got the primary arms 3X Cyclops on there. I really like this optic so far. The only thing I think I don't like is the shortened eye relief on it. This should be on the left side of the plate. We are subsonic. These M855 should be at the top of the plate. Given the current climate when I recorded this video in 2022, I figured we'd test some 5.45 by 39. I have our Romac 2 here with a 16-inch barrel. I have 7N6 and 7N6M. Supposedly, the M version has a hardened steel core, whereas the regular 7N6, aka the poison bullet, has a mild steel core. We'll take the hardened steel core 1 second and the regular 7N6 first. I have a primary arms Cyclops 1X up top with the green reticle. Hopefully my offset is good. We'll go down and mark the plates after these shots. Since we like to go for worst case scenario here on the channel, I brought out a very special 5.45 by 39 gun. This is our SSG-82. This has almost a 24-inch barrel on it, so this is probably maximum potential velocity. We have 2 more rounds of the regular 7N6. Supposedly there are only 600 of these guns in the United States, 2,000 worldwide. It's an early 80s Eastern German Kammblock gun when they first released 5.45. Feeds from a 5 or 6 round bolt magazine or box magazine. Got a cool hammer forged barrel on it. This should be the upper right of the plate. Didn't get a velocity off that, maybe because I was too high. Should be right where it says strike face. Not bad velocity wise. Still no 5.56 though. Now we're back to 5.56 with our M855. We've stepped up in our barrel length. We have a 16-inch Stag Model 1L. Got the EOTech up top, Hyperfire 24C trigger. That's probably my favorite trigger so far in my ARs. This is where polyethylene has trouble stopping M855. So this should be on the right side of the plate. Good velocity off that today. This will be the lower left of the plate. And then this will be the lower right of the plate. Now for our king of speed, the king of armor destruction itself, our 22-inch TC compass with our turbo 5.56 suppressor, maximum velocity here. We've got our M193, which is our 55 grain full metal jacket. This round is really good at penetrating steel and actually destroying some types of ceramic strike faces if they're thin enough. But against polyethylene, usually it is not a threat. So we've got 4 rounds we'll shoot at it. We have 2 rounds of our Independence M193. That is the hottest M193 that I've actually used. And then I have some newer manufacturer Lake City Winchester M193. We'll see what kind of velocity we get out of that. Those will be second. They are a 2021 lot. The Independence is 2014. It is about 65 degrees outside today. We recorded the introduction last time and didn't get a chance to shoot this. So this should be the upper left of the plate. .33-55. This will be on the right side of the plate. Duplicate, nice. Now for our Winchester, this will be in the middle of the plate above strike face. Very close to the same velocity, 33, 32, I think, if I can read that right. And then this one should be below the word strike. All right. We've got a lot of hits on this plate, but like I said, the good thing about polyethylene is it stays together fairly well until we get into the upper energies, so we can call these hits out fairly well. So M193 from the 22-inch was here. The M855 was number 1 and number 2 from the 10.5-inch. Then our 7 and 6 was right here. Our intentional subsonic A1 was right here. Another 7 and 6 was right here. Our 16-inch M855 was right here. Our 7 and 6M was right there. This was our third shot of M193. Our second shot of M193. Our M855 16-inch shot number 2. Here was shot number 4 of M193. Another 7 and 6. And then our 16-inch M855 shot number 3. I think there's enough good spots left on this plate for maybe some 308 hits. Place those bets in the comments below. Helper hand. Ha! No pass-throughs at all. We will have to confirm. Oh, wait. Sorry, folks. I lied. Maybe hard to see, but there is our M855A1 subsonic. just poking through the back right there. This plate is a pretty thick boy like the Prime Armor, so that thickness helped stop that little round of mine that we like to use as a, I guess, quality judgment, even though I have no idea if it does or not as a representation. We got a little bit of foam on the back. We'll tear this down when we're done to confirm if there's any penetrations. I guess we'll have to shoot a couple shots of M855 from the 22-inch. Back face wise, our clay is warm. There's a little bit of dimpling there from the M193, but not too bad. Since our 16-inch couldn't penetrate our thick boy, we're gonna try M855 out of the 22-inch. We got 3 rounds here. We should see 31-15 feet per second, somewhere around there. I've noticed that a lot of the 5.56 is not the most consistent velocity-wise. So this should be the upper right of the plate. Almost to our target velocity. This one will be on the left edge, next to that subsonic A1. And then what was I going to place as last one? Left edge. Okay, now we've got our 308 threat. We've got a longer barrel since some of the last testing. This is our Savage Access 110 Tactical left hand with a 24-inch barrel and our JK Armament rifle kit on here. We have our M80 ball. I went to the 24-inch because I wanted to make sure I got 2750 feet per second or more, because this is where we get into the showing back face on our polyethylene and some of our other body armor panels. So I have 3 rounds of Winchester M80 ball. This is new manufacture. I do believe the head stamp is 2021. I like the Savage Access because it uses the A6 magazine, so I've just got a standard 10-round PMag here, no proprietary, super expensive magazines. The bolt is a little bit sticky on it, but it is brand new. I gotta get an optic on here. I just got the Arkin Optic SH4 Gen 2 on here that I took off the Ruger Precision. So this should be right next to the word strike on the left of the S. Really good velocity off that if it actually read 29-25, I think. This one will be on the upper part of the plate next to the 7N6 shot. And then this one will be next to the letter A on strike face. Really good velocity with the 24-inch. Okay, here was our 22-inch M855 shot number 1, shot number 2, shot number 3, then our M80 ball shot number 2, number 1, and then where'd you go? Number 3. Sorry, this is getting really hard to tell because I can't write on here very well. Looks like there's quite a bit of back face forming here. Place those bets in the comments below. Helper hand. Uh-oh, Raggy. We have a penetration from the M855 from the 22-inch on shots number 2 and 3. It looks like on shot number 1 it actually stopped it. There's quite a bit of trauma there. Our 308 is starting to show considerable amount of back face.
There's a hole in there.
Our clay is not quite up to temperature, but it is pretty warm outside today. So let's look at these 308s. 35 millimeters for that one. This one looks like it's even more because of where the hit on the plate was. That one's 53 millimeters. It doesn't look like the plate is pressed, or maybe it is. We'll have to tear this apart in a second and confirm all of our penetrations. But we're starting to see some separation of the layers here. Our final threat is Mr. Energy, our Ruger Precision Magnum in .338 Lapua Magnum. We've got a 250 grain IMI Systems boat tail hollow point here. Should see maximum back face on this plate. It should stop it, but you never know. This Ruger Precision Magnum has a 26-inch barrel and our huge muzzle brake. Could use a suppressor on here though. So this should be, get this right here, should be in the upper circle where HWin is. Nice. Our final hit for our 338 Lapua was right here. We are far enough away from these other shots that I would definitely consider them a fair hit, at least on polyethylene. Place those bets in the comments below. Helper hand. Get ready. Oh! No pass through. But look at that indentation. That is bigger than my fist diameter wise. Ho! But it stopped it. Now in a real world scenario, you know, you're going to be at multiple hundred yards with someone engaging you with a 338 Lapua. As far as our back face goes, we did flatten out the clay before we shot this last round. See what we get. It's kind of hard because I need some kind of medium to, or device to put on the edges here because the clay bunches up. So that is 47 millimeters, give or take. I think more of the energy was spread out, whereas the 308 was more localized. But wow. I do say though that I think the Prime Armor has this one beat for stopping the 338 with less back face, but impressive nonetheless for a single curve all polyethylene plate able to withstand M855 from a 16-inch barrel. We're in the home stretch, everyone's favorite teardown. This is where we keep the armor makers honest and ensure what they are claiming is inside your armor without you having to do the same thing. Here is our backer. We got a little bit of foam here, but not too thick or high density. I'm not sure how well the foam works against like 308. 556 it seems to help, but against like 308 and the larger threats, it just seems to break away. I got a printer retraction because my child and wife were correct. We have 4 penetrations in total on the plate. We have our subsonic M855A1. We have the 22-inch M855 shot here, and down here is our 16-inch shot number 3 M855 actually penetrated. It looks like it went up on an angle. So that is typical again for polyethylene. When you get into those hardened core threats, it is not easy to stop. It does look like this plate is pressed at least in sections and then maybe finished in the autoclave with vacuum and heat, because we've got solid pieces, like, you know, the front piece here is pretty thick, but then, and it doesn't, like, kind of wants to look like a book, but in some places you can see that there were sections, and if we can peel these apart, seems to be holding together pretty well. And there's just more damage. Here's some different jacket fragments and lead cores and things. Well, everyone, I hope that I didn't bore you too much with this polyethylene test. Pretty much all polyethylene, at least until you get into the really high-end stuff, has a very limited threat profile. Typically, they're rated for our M80 ball and our M193 and a lot of our mild steel core threats, and that's about it. So essentially with the M855 and even our M855A1 subsonic, I'm exceeding the threat rating for this particular type of material. Although at its current thickness, it did fairly well against our M855 until we got to our 22-inch barrel. Even with that 338 Lapua, we had pretty manageable back face after taking, 20 hits on this plate. It is obviously delaminating at this point. I'm not sure, like I said, if the manufacturer is pressing all of these at once, or maybe they're only pressing sections of it and then they autoclave the rest of it. I think it's time for me to scoot. My abs are very sore from doing GHD sit-ups at the beginning of the week. I really probably should stop doing them or learn how to do them better. Although this time my hip flexors are sore, so I think I'm finally using my quads and my hamstrings and my glutes to do them and not all of my abs, so I'm not just leaned over for an entire week and crouching in pain. But at the end of all my videos, I take a moment to thank all those who help make these possible. Number one is my Patreon supporters. Number two is Richard over at HWin, who, in full transparency, sent us that plate for a full hands-off approach to do as I please. And of course, number three is you all for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you at the range.